أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I welcome you all to another class of Tajweed, and inshallah today we are going to look into the first verse of Surah Al-Qalam. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نون والقلم وما يسطرون. MashaAllah, after we've had the recitation of the first verse of Surah Al-Qalam, inshallah I will now identify the rules governing this particular verse. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Noon والقلم وما يسطرون. Noon. Have you ever heard of a حروف مقطعة, that is the mystic letters, and the rules governing these letters? Okay, حروف مقطعة, that is the mystic letters, are letters found at the beginning of some chapters of the Glorious Qur'an, and they are 14 in number in this expression as Silhu, Suhayra, Man Qata'ak. That is, we have letter Sod, Lam, Ha, Sin, Ha, Ya, Ra, Alif, Mim, Nun, Qaf, Ta, Ain, and Kaf. So these are the 14 letters of these are the 14 mystic letters, that is Hurufu Muqatta'at. So on these 14 letters, they are divided into 3 groups. We have the one that is completely free of elongation, which is a letter Alif, that is, it does not have elongation at all. So we have letter Alif is one of it, and is the only letter that is on this group. And then we have those that have the elongation of a 2 haraka, which are 5 in number. We have letter Ha, letter Ya, letter Ta, Ha, and then letter Ra. So these 5 letters have the elongation of a 2 haraka, that is the duration of 1 second. And the third one, they are those with the elongation of that of a mad lazim, that is, they have the elongation of a 6 haraka, which include, we have a Nun, Qaf, Sod, Ain, Sin, Lam, Kaf, and Mim, that is Naqasa Asalukum, right? So for any of these mystic letters to have it, the elongation of mad lazim, as I said, the letter should have, that is, the first option given is that the letter should comprise of 3 letters whenever you spell the name of that particular letter, that is, in the course of pronunciation. For example, we know a letter has a name. As I said, Noon, that is the name of a letter. If I say Ta, that is a name of a letter. If I say Alif, that is a name of a particular letter. You understand? So in the course of pronunciation, that is, if you now spell the name of that particular letter, then later the names will comprise of 3 letters. That is a 3-letter words, right? So that is the first option given. That is for a letter to be elongated, to have the elongation of a 6 haraka in case of this particular topic we are talking about. Then the second option is that the among the letters spelled, that is, the middle letter should be among the letters of elongation. either alif mad, wa mad, or ya mad. That is the second letter. I will give an example of most of either three letters so that we are going to understand it better. And then the last letter among the three spell letters should be having a second, that is, it should be having sukun, a vowelless letter, a vowelless sign, right? So now let's give an example of three letters and see so that we can understand it more better. So for example, we have letter alif, we have letter ta, and then we have letter noon. So now let's spell the names of these three letters and see which of these letters um, have has this option given above. So now let's start with the letter alif. Letter alif is spelled as alamza fatah lam kasra li fa skun, right? So that is alif. So let's now check whether it obeys all the options given above. That is, it has three letters in the name. As we can see here, it has three letters. Yes, agreed. So what of the second letter among the three letters, that is the middle letter? Is it a letter of elongation? Here, it is not a letter of elongation, which means it has not gotten the second option, because the second letter in this case happens to be letter lam, right? What of the last letter? The last letter, does it have second? Yes, it does, but still with that, it does not obey the second rule, which has to be a letter of elongation. So in this case, letter alif, it is free of elongation and is, as I said, is on the first group, right? That is alif. So whenever you come across this letter alif, that is as a letter of a huruf muqatta'at, so you are only going to just call the name of that letter as alif without elongating the name. Do you understand? So it is free of elongation. That is alif. Do you understand? So now let's now check the second letter, which is a letter ta. So letter ta is spelled as ta fatha ta alif mad. That is ta, right? So what let's see the options given. That is, it should contain three letter alphabet, right? But as you can see here, there are only three letters on the name spell. So which means the first rule, it has not gotten down. The first option has not been gotten. Then what of the second option? That is, the second letter on the name should be among the letters of elongation. And here, yeah, it has a letter alif mad is on it, right? So what of the third option, which is supposed to be second? So it only contains two letters, so that means it has not gotten the first option and the last option, which means this letter cannot be elongated for the duration of 30 seconds. So it is not among the letters of lazim, right? So now, how are you going to elongate this one? You are only going to elongate it as in the case of madul asli, right? That is the second group, as I made mention of earlier. So letter ta as a letter of a huruf muqatta'at, when you come across it in the surah, you are only going to elongate the name of the letter for the duration of only 1 second. As in the case of this surah, you are going to say Taha. Do you understand? Taha. So that is how we are going to say it. So let's move further. What of the last letter I made mention, that is letter noon? So let's now spell letter noon and see if it obeys, if it obeys all the options that I listed earlier. So letter noon is spelled as nun doma nu wa omad nun skun, right? So the first option said it should comprise of three letters, right? So and we have the three letters noon, wa, umad, then noon. Then the second option is the second letter should be either of the letters of elongation, which happens to be here we have wa, umad, right? Then the last option is it says that the last letter should have second, right? So and as you can see here, the last letter on the name noon, so it has second, right? So which means when you come across letter noon in the glorious Quran as a letter of among the huruf muqatta'at, that is the mystic letters, you are going to extend its name, that is you are going to elongate the name of that letter for the duration of 30 seconds as it was recited earlier as noon. So now we've gotten that we've understood that letter nu, the sound I just elongated, the elongation that I just apply is that of a lazim, right? Madul lazim. But still, we need to know which of these madul lazim, because we know we have the al-kalmi group, and then we have that of al-harfi. So we have al-mad lazim, al-mathaqal, al-kalimi. We've discussed about that one, and we also have that of al-mad lazim, al-mathaqal, al-makhaffaf, al-kalimi. So we have that one. But in this case here, this is the harfi. This is the harfi group of mad lazim. But before we now consider either one of this the harfi, that is that of the letters, that is one on letters, is before we now consider it as a muthaqal or as a makhaffaf, we need to explain something here. So we've seen the options that will lead a letter to be elongated to the duration of 30 seconds, that is the sis haraka for the mad lazim. It is called as al-mad lazim al-mathaqal al-harfi if after the elongation of this second letter, as I said, noon, for example. So if after the elongation of the second letter, which is the letter of elongation that I'm referring to now, then the last letter, which is having the second, right? In the case of noon, for example. But I'll give other examples so that we can understand it better. So if the last letter, that is the third letter on the name of the mystic letter, happens to be assimilated into the first letter of the adjacent mystic letter, you understand it now. So for example, let's now look into Surah Al-Baqarah. In Surah Al-Baqarah, the mystic letters there are, we have Alif, Lam, and Mim, right? Which we are going to recite it as Alif, Lam, Mim. So now let's now spell these letters and now see which of it has been assimilated and how has the assimilation occur. Do you understand? So Alif is spelled as Alif Alam Hamza Fatih A Lam Kasra Li Fa Uskun. That is for the Alif. So we've known that and why it has been pronounced in such a way. So now what of the second letter Lam? You can, as you can hear, I've extended the name to the duration of 30 seconds, which we can now spell it as Lam Fatih La Alif Mad Mim Skun. Do you see that? That is Mim Skun. That is Lam. Do you understand? Then the last letter, which is Mim, it is spelled as Mim Kasra Mi Ya Umad then Mim Skun, right? So now between these two letters, that is Lam and Mim, the first letter, which is a letter Lam, it comes before the Mim. Letter lam on its name, it ends with mim sukun, right? And then letter mim on its own, it starts with a mim kasra, right? It starts with mim. Do you understand? So now, if you can recall, in our previous classes, we said where we discussed about rules governing uh, mim sakina, right? Which is uh, we have different rules. We have idharun shafawi, we have idgham shafawi, we have ikhfa shafawi. And in this case, we said whenever, if immediately after nun mim sakina, the next letter that comes immediately after mim sakina happens to be mim, so that of a rule is known as idgham shafawi, right? It's known as idgham shafawi. So, and in this case, the meme sakin has been assimilated into the second meme. Do you understand? So, that is what I was trying to explain earlier. That is, whenever the last letter of the mystic letter happens to be assimilated into the first letter of the adjacent letter, of the adjacent mystic letter, so it is what is termed as al-musaqqal al-harfi, that is al-mad lazim al-musaqqal al-harfi. So, and this example that I've given it to you, that is in the first verse of Surah al-Baqarah, that is that type of a mystic letters, it is the tajweed rule governing that one is known as al-mad lazim al-musaqqal al-harfi. But in the case of where the last letter has not been assimilated into the first letter of the adjacent mystic letter, and that one is termed as al-mukhaffaf al-harfi, that is al-mad lazim al-mukhaffaf al-harfi. Do you understand it? So in this case, the first in the first verse of Surah Al-Qalam, as we are now indicating, so the noon, the rule that is governing that one is known as al-madul lazim al-mukhaffaf al-harfi. But for you to understand it more better, I will give you another example of some mystic letters, that is the huruf al-muqatta'at. That is, we have Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Ra. So in this case, you can see that after I've prolonged the sound of the lam, then I did not do what is known as assimilate. I did not assimilate this the last letter of the letter lam into ra. Let's now spell it out. That is, we have lam as lam fatha la, alif mad, then mim sukun, right? Then the next letter, which is the adjacent letter, which is letter ra, that is the mystic letter ra, which happens to be ra fatha ra alif mad, right? So you can see, and if you can recall in our previous classes, we've been identifying Izharun Shafawi, and we know letter ra is among the letters of Izhar in the case of rules governing mim sakina. Do you understand? So, and you can see there is no assimilation here. What has been done here, I say lam ra. So I clearly pronounce the sound of the mim, right? That is izhar that I did here. So, and the rest, you can see there are different examples there. If you go to qaf, then sword, and the rest, inshallah. So let's now move further. وَالْقَلَمِ وَمَا يَسْطُرُونَ. وَالْقَلَمِ, right? That is وَالْقَلَمِ وَمَا يَسْطُرُونَ. وَالْقَلَمِ. The sound of this lam ta'rif has been heard here in this place, which is known as izharul lam al-qamariyya, right? Izharul lam al-qamariyya. So let's move further. It has been discussed in our previous classes. So وَمَا يَسْطُرُونَ, وَمَا. So the letter meme has been elongated for the duration of only 1 second, and this type of rule is known as a al-maddul asli. Al-maddul asli. Do you understand it? وَمَا يَسْطُرُونَ. And the last elongation that I just did is known as al-maddul arid lis-sukun. Al-maddul arid lis-sukun. And you can extend it for only either 1 second, 2 seconds, or 30 seconds. Do you understand? With this, inshallah, we've come to the end of today's class, and we seek for Allah's forgiveness. We seek for Jannatul Firdaus. May Allah forgive us our sin and grant us Jannatul Firdaus. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.